CED Office Hour Live, where we talk about all things community and economic development. And I always like to start off with the definition of community and economic development, commonly known as CED. CED is the system of looking of how we live, work, play, thrive, and how we navigate through all those spaces. One end of the CED spectrum is the infrastructure side. So that's the development of public spaces when you see new construction projects, bikeways, highways, walking paths, parks, all of those kind of things, right? Housing. Those are all things on the infrastructure end. The other end of the CED spectrum is the people development side. So, workforce development, quality of life, social service programming, social justice advocacy, all of those kinds of things. So, for personal and professional development and empowerment, moving people towards self sufficiency. And then the connector between the two in that middle are the organizations, entities, educational institutions, businesses that connect the two, right? And help the world go round. And so this month we've been focusing a lot on outreach, stakeholder engagement, and things like that this month. And today I bring to you, and in addition to that, also because it's Women's Month, I know some females that are just the bomb.com. They're awesome in what they do. And so today, I'm glad that Christian Smitherman Voltaire was able to join us. We served together on the Cincinnati Human Services Advisory Committee, where we monitor and make recommendations to City Council on how to fund some of the things to fund and ways to engage the Cincinnati residents. But I've known her prior to that. She's been in the diversity, equity, and inclusion space for many years, and she's been in the academia space in that regard at a community college. And she currently serves at Turner Construction at their Cincinnati regional office. And she's still doing what? Diversity, equity, inclusion, engaging businesses, individuals, and making sure that Turner Construction is a good steward and community in the greater Cincinnati community and the other areas throughout the United States that they serve. So without further ado, I introduce Christian Smitherman Voltaire as we talk about economic inclusion and its impact on growing your business. Christian, can you start off by, I know you have a PowerPoint. It,
Sure.
I gave a high level introduction, but if
What
you want
a
to give
beautiful
us,
introduction, by the way. Thank
well,
you
it's the
so much. I
truth.
feel
It's
so
the truth.
welcome here.
You are. If there's any things you would like to add, feel free to add any background or points that you want to, and then you can get right into your PowerPoint.
Absolutely. I'll just pull up this little slide about me. I think you covered a lot of ground. And so I think one of the things that I'll add is some of the notable projects that I've had an opportunity to be a part of and lead in terms of community and economic inclusion. And one of those was actually the TQL Stadium, the soccer specific stadium located in the West End. As some may know, there was a community benefit agreement signed between FC Cincinnati, the West End Community Council, City of Cincinnati, and the Port Authority. And it was really focused on ensuring that this project created opportunities for Black and Brown folks in the community, for West End residents specifically, and surrounding neighborhoods. And that the project really left a positive, lasting legacy on the community and really co-created positive economic outcomes. And so I had the opportunity to help lead the economic inclusion efforts on that project in particular, which involved a lot of engagement, hands-on connectivity, and partnership across various community development organizations and directly with residents. So I like to tell that story because I think it highlights what true meaningful economic inclusion can look like in our city. I think there's lots of room for growth in terms of how we approach economic inclusion. But I think that project in particular had really created an avenue to set forth a standard of how we are going to build in this community and what we find valuable, how we engage, and how we connect with folks across our region. So that's the only thing I'll highlight there. A couple other little things just about me and what I do. My role as community and citizenship manager, I'm essentially a connector, a disruptor, and an advocate. So my role is to connect with underrepresented businesses in our community to make sure they have opportunities on our construction projects. I also connect with local schools and organizations to help generate greater interest in construction related careers. And probably my favorite part of the work that I do is that I'm able to be involved um, in helping to usher in sustainable economic impact for minority owned, women owned, small and local businesses in our community. And I'm also able to work with students and youth of all ages so that they can see themselves in a fulfilling career in construction. So that's a little bit about me. I can continue on
Yes. Go ahead.
um, because one of the things that we'll kind of what we'll focus on today is economic inclusion. And I think it's always good to start off similarly with how Amber started off with the definition of CED, starting out with how we define economic inclusion at Turner and what it means to us. So when we say economic inclusion, at its core, what that means is proactively creating opportunities. And we do that in a variety of ways that boil down to about three key focus areas. The first of which is community engagement. So for us, community engagement, in order for us to create an inclusive economic system, that is really truly inclusive, we have to be connected to the community and the populations that we wish to include in that process, and that we hope to engage as partners in co-creating the future that we hope to see. So in building, what that looks like in construction is meaningful, thoughtful relationship building that is much more than transactional, but rather transparent and really transformational. And so we see that we implement that through thoughtful volunteerism in the neighborhoods and the areas in which we build, meaningful community service, and intentional investment, all for the goal of really having a lasting, sustained positive impact in the communities that we build. And I just want to note here, when we say intentional investment, yes, that's of course of our time, but that also is of our treasure and our resources as well. So really identifying opportunities to invest in our community. So we are doing our part in being good corporate citizens. The second focus area when we think of economic inclusion is workforce development. And this is truly critical for us because, especially in the construction industry, we've had a long-standing workforce gap. We've had challenges with filling needs even prior to the COVID pandemic. And so all of those kind of workforce challenges were exacerbated by the pandemic. And it is critically important that we are intentional and deliberate about tapping into various pools of talent so that we are creating a pipeline of high quality, diverse talent into our industry, whether that's on the trade side or whether that's on the management side. And so this is really about making sure that we are partnering with local workforce agencies and creating genuine opportunities for local residents in our area to not only contribute to, but also benefit from the construction that's happening around them. And then the last focus area of economic inclusion that we really like to talk about and we'll focus a lot of our effort, is economic inclusion itself, which is to us intentional engagement of underrepresented businesses and designing pathways for them to grow and thrive, not only financially, but in terms of their capacity and their ability to bid on and win additional work. I think of examples, on various projects when we have a contractor that comes on board that may have not done work with Turner before, but has an opportunity to work on a project as a lower tier contractor and, you know, really is able to, through that opportunity, grow their business. So not only are they able to build up some of the skills that they may have wanted to expand, but they're also able to have a little bit more money in their pocket so they can hire an additional person or purchase additional equipment that allows them to do more work in a more sustained way. So when we say economic inclusion, specifically from a construction standpoint, we're really talking about making sure that businesses have access to opportunities on construction projects. And for us, when we say underrepresented businesses, that includes minority owned, women owned, small businesses, LGBTQ plus owned, veteran owned, disabled, disadvantaged. There's a lot of various classifications and categories, but all in all, we really are hoping to connect with businesses that were historically and continue to be unfortunately shut out of many economic opportunities.
And I'd like to stop you right there just to
Yeah.
give another example of the economic inclusion. So, remember when Cincinnati Public Schools had this big facilities master plan and they were
Mm,
redoing um, their all 65 schools. So, schools were either being torn down and rebuilt or major rehab plus technological upgrades, geothermal systems, et cetera, et cetera. So, this was a big public, partially funded through levies, state legislation, et cetera. It's a big
yep.
public
And Turner
project.
was involved in building a lot of
Yes.
those.
Yes.
Hmm.
And I worked on that project. I was the diversity, equity, and inclusion. So I was an economic inclusion consultant on it at the time. And in year 7 is when I joined the 10-year project. And by year 7, there was this, and rightfully so, contractors that you're trying to target in economic inclusion weren't bidding. They had stopped bidding because it didn't seem to be a viable opportunity. And it's a lot of money to put in a bid. In the 7 years, I don't have a bid. So why would I keep bidding? Why would I, if I never won a contract of any type? So I had to spend a lot of that time in the background having, convincing people that I knew that companies I knew were qualified for the work and had the capacity to do the work to even bid again. And I did have a success story. So it was RWB Construction, right? Rodrigo Williams. And I spent hours and hours and days just trying to get him to even come to an outreach event. I said, I'm going to partner you with, I partnered them with
Hmm.
Monarch Construction, right?
Hmm.
Who was one of the prime contractors. You all, Turner was the construction management team. And as a result of that, he ended up working on several schools, right?
Yeah.
As a subcontractor, made good money. But now, to your point, his capacity built because of that experience in those longer term contracts. So now he's subbing out to other people and he's a prime contractor and has done a lot of key buildings throughout many of the communities throughout the Cincinnati area and even beyond. And but that's an example of that impact and how this economic inclusion, it not only helps the project itself, but it also helps the businesses that participate and gives them opportunity to grow where they can hire more staff, they build
Hmm.
their capacity, and then they can sub and be that prime contractor position versus always just doing sub. So I just wanted to
Absolutely.
reiterate what you were saying.
Yes, no, that's a perfect example and a great point. I mean, more so than the numbers themselves, like the percentages of, you
Hmm.
know, utilization of
Yes.
minority-owned businesses or women-owned businesses. Economic inclusion, to do it well and do it successfully, and sustain it across time, there has to be that level of support and engagement that is ongoing, right?
Yes.
So it's not enough to just say, all right, well, we're going to put these bid packages out on the street. We're going to ask for, folks to bid on the project, and whoever comes, right? Like, there is an element of needing to establish trust and strong relationships with contractors. And a lot of that has to do, again, going back to the community engagement aspect,
Hmm.
really building genuine relationships that are much more than transactional. So that when opportunities do arise, you already understand what the capacity and capabilities are of many of the underrepresented contractors in the community are. And um, how to identify opportunities that might work for
Hmm.
many of the contractors that we know. And then B, we have a lot of opportunities to right size those bid packages to maximize inclusion. So, really trying to be creative about projects and how they're bid out so that when there are opportunities to be more intentional about, breaking down packages so that they're a little more manageable for a business that might not be able to handle a very large project but might be able to do it at a smaller scale, or to your point, matchmaking and partnering with businesses with each
Hmm.
other so that they are able to not only collaborate, but learn from one another so that hopefully on the next job they can then do that with another business and be a
Yes.
mentor, and guide. So that is absolutely right on.
Mhm.
Some of the strategies that we implement at Turner on our construction projects when it comes to being really intentional about getting more inclusion, right, um, are really conducting like a comprehensive market analysis of the existing businesses in the region and really understanding, um, what are minority owned, women owned, small businesses, et cetera, what their existing capacity is. What are they currently working on? What's their current staffing like? Are they overstretched? What's going on? And a lot of that is that one on one interaction and
Right.
conversation. And then, once we have a better sense of that, then we can have a realistic understanding of what can be done to make sure that we include, um, and maximize inclusion on our projects. Other
No,
kind of
and one
ways that, oh,
and
yeah, go ahead.
also one resource for that, Valeria is on
Yes.
here from the city. She's in economic inclusion, and they do a lot of the small business certification process for businesses and some other certifications. And
Hmm.
that is a list that Turner will use and other companies will use. So her role is also to help businesses identify where and what kinds of businesses are in that pool for that market area. So just wanted to give a shout out to Valeria.
Oh, trust me, I actually have their logo on a slide, so we'll definitely get at it because it's true. I mean, the city of Cincinnati is a phenomenal resource. There's also, at the state of Ohio, resources as well in terms of getting certified. But that is absolutely, when we talk about ways to, kind of some next steps and things to consider, whether you're a business owner or you're, seeking a career in construction or an economic development opportunity, that is absolutely one of the things that needs to be at the top of your list is seeking out certification, and looking for ways to get your business certified so that you can be identified, by various companies who are looking to really be much more intentional about their inclusion efforts. So that's a great point. Um, think we kind of hit on most of the points that I wanted to make sure we made when it comes to specifically economic inclusion. But again, it all boils down to that proactively creating opportunities and seeking ways to, um, identify what the needs are and then fill those needs.
Yes.
Um, and I can provide a quick example for you. So Turner runs what we call our Turner School of Construction Management program. It's been in operation since 1969. It actually launched in Cleveland, Ohio. As a company, Turner is multinational. So we have 47 offices across the United States, and then we have some international offices as well. But in almost every office in the US, we operate a Turner School of Construction Management program. And the intention of that program is to connect with minority owned, women owned, underrepresented businesses, bring them into a multi-week um, course that kind of provides a high level overview of various ways for them to grow their business in construction. We offer opportunities, we connect them with mentors. But one of the things that we have found to be most valuable is to really focus on the review and the application process so that businesses who really have the opportunity to benefit most from the program um, are able to take part. And so we ask in the application process for this program, it's an investment of time. It's a 10-week program. Um, but we ask questions like, what are some of your business, what are your goals and aspirations for your business? What are some of the projects that you've worked on in the past? What are some things that you look forward to in the future? Really just to get to know businesses better so that we can be of greatest support and resource for them once they're in the program. I think we found it's much smoother if you get to know them really well ahead of time. And hopefully by the end of the 10 weeks, the intention is that they have amassed some knowledge, they've gained some great contacts, and they've had an opportunity to network. And then once they graduate, they have an opportunity to go on and do additional work after they've, you know, been able to apply some of the learnings from the program. So again, it's much more about being focused and attentive um, with the contractor community and with the individuals that are looking to grow and take advantage of some of the economic windfalls that come into our region. And as a large company as Turner, we consider it our obligation and responsibility to leverage the resources and the teams that we have to be good corporate citizens in that way, and support the next wave of up and coming underrepresented businesses because we need them really. We need them as much as they need us. Like, we need support in staffing these projects, um, and more and more and more our clients are really expecting us as construction management firms to be thought leaders in the space of diversity, equity, and inclusion. So um, we have to be able to demonstrate that this is a priority for us, and we also have to be able to perform um, and provide the wealth of opportunity for diverse businesses on the projects that our clients are currently looking to build. So um, did you want to say something else? I was
Now I was just agreeing with you. It's like perfect.
I was going to dive into why does it matter? Why does economic inclusion matter for a little bit? Because I know that was one of the kind of key elements of the agenda for
Yes.
today. And really, it boils down to equity. Our economic system was specifically designed, especially in this country, to exclude and disenfranchise marginalized communities. um, Whether that's black and brown folks, whether that's Asian folks, etc. Like, there has been a long-standing history of creating systems to intentionally leave folks out, and block them from the ability to gain upward mobility in this country. And so it's incumbent upon us, especially as large institutions that benefit greatly from the economy and from capitalism, to um, ensure that we are doing our part to counteract the inequitable outcomes of this system, right?
Mhm.
The other thing, too, is that research shows us that for every dollar spent with an underrepresented business, 2 to 4 of those dollars go back to the community. So it's incumbent upon us to realize that when we spend with minority owned, women owned, small businesses, local businesses, et cetera, that they're putting those dollars back into their communities. They're putting those dollars back into um, populations that we ultimately say we want to reach, right, and connect with. And so by continuing to right size our economic system, we're contributing to hopefully a more equitable and inclusive society, a more viable ecosystem for businesses to really thrive. And I think there's oftentimes a misnomer, or the assumption that it's a zero sum game. That, if we create and provide opportunities for some, then others are now at a disadvantage. And I think what we've found to actually be true is that there's enough room for everybody to win. With the amount of work that is coming into this area, specifically Cincinnati, from a construction perspective, but even if you look broader into the state of Ohio and into Kentucky, I mean, you look into Columbus, like an hour and a half north, and it's like Silicon Valley of the Midwest. Like, there is so many billion-dollar projects that are coming to this area. And so there's opportunities for everyone to get a piece of that. And it behooves us as large entities, as large companies, to make sure that that's equitably distributed. So I really wanted to speak to something that came up a little bit earlier, that Amber alluded to, which are opportunities. And specifically, opportunities if you are a business owner, or if you are someone that is looking to start a business, or you've had a business for a while. Now, I can speak specifically to the construction, architecture, engineering side of things,
Mhm.
but really, as a business owner, period, I tend to think that all of these things are of value to consider. So, the first bullet point there underneath that business owner section is explore diverse business certification. We recognize there may be some reasons why a business may not be interested in getting certified, but on the whole, we as Turner, entities such as the City of Cincinnati, the Port Authority of Greater Cincinnati, Hamilton County, a lot of these large um, projects that are coming to the region, especially that involve public funding, it behooves businesses to at least explore the idea of getting certified, because that's the best, most surefire way that you as a business will get discovered and identified. And there are, especially on some projects, federal projects especially, there are set asides specifically for businesses that are certified as minority owned, as women owned, as veteran owned, et cetera. And so absolutely consider what those options are. And I'll talk on the next slide. I have a list of some resources of folks of organizations and departments to get in touch with, but we've already mentioned one already with the City of Cincinnati Economic Inclusion Department. Understand your core business. Understand what you do well, what sets you apart, what works for you, and what your value add is to a potential client or a customer. And get really good at articulating that, because that allows you to quickly communicate why it is that anyone would benefit from doing business with you. But if you yourself understand your core business, it helps drive how you seek out opportunities. So you can be much more strategic and intentional about the projects that you go after. If you know this is my niche, this is what I do really well. Um, and while you're continuing to grow, if you're an emerging business, getting that down pat now allows for you to really perfect what it is that you do so that you can expand and potentially do some other things and expand kind of your scope of work. So definitely understand your core business. And along with that, create a capability statement. Um, at Turner, we use core capability statements like calling cards. And a lot of our clients do too, especially if
Mhm,
they are looking for contractors to do direct work with.
mhm.
Uh, they want to see what it is that you do in a very simplified way so that they can kind of get a sense of, all right, how might I utilize this business or what opportunities exist that I can explore further and present to this particular business. So capability statements come in handy. They're fantastic. There's a lot of different resources online in terms of a good template to use when it comes to creating a capability statement. But in general, you would have your company name, your contact information, the key services that you provide, next codes or key trade categories that you fulfill, and then any key differentiators that set your business apart from other companies in the area or maybe even competitors. So that capability statement we found to be exceedingly helpful. It's a great introduction, and then that kind of gets me to that last bullet on that first section there. Once you've created that capability statement, connect with, reach out to, meet with companies and organizations that you want to partner with. Um, because ultimately, especially in the construction industry, it's a very relational business. And so people want to do business with folks that they know, with folks that they know that they can trust to get the job done, but B, that they think they can truly work with. And so having that FaceTime, I know the pandemic did impact folks' ability to kind of connect one-on-one in person in 3D live and live in color. But because there is now more of an opportunity to connect in person, really prioritize visiting potential clients or companies or customers at their place of business, um, and meeting them face to face and talking to them about some of your past experience, some of the things that you've had an opportunity to contribute to as a business. It sticks and it sinks in so much better when you've had a face to face interaction with somebody than maybe if it's a phone call or even a virtual meeting. So really
Yeah.
try to do your best to prioritize meeting in person, but even if not, set up a phone call and just identify maybe potential opportunities and things that jobs and projects that are coming down the pike that might be a good fit with your skill set.
So before you go into the career side,
Hmm.
so the another benefit of having this that diverse business certification or inclusion certifications, that's if you are a minority business, small business, veteran owned business, disadvantaged business, it's a whole lot of women owned businesses, right? Is that when they have you're identified as someone that they can include to meet their goals or that they want to do business with, right? And a lot of times that comes with, if you're on those lists, there are engagement activities, outreach programs, events that occur. You're on that list, you get invited into those rooms. So it helps you to get in front of decision makers, right? Instead of having to cold call a company, it gives you that chance to get in front and start building that personal relationship that Christian referred to. And then the capability statement in practical terms, when you're looking for a job, you have a resume. But when you have a business and you're looking for contracts, you have a capability statement. That is like your resume, your high quality resume. That is your walking card. People will use that before they use your business cards. nowadays,
Hmm. Yeah.
right?
Yep.
So I just wanted to kind of give some extra context to what she was saying.
That's perfect. Um, on the career side, we talked a lot about workforce development, especially because part of um, creating economic opportunity is through work. Um, and if individuals don't have an opportunity to plug into um, viable career opportunities, they're less likely to be able to support themselves and their families. So for career seekers, what what comes to mind in terms of ways to really kind of set yourself apart. First of all, I just have to put a shameless plug out there to consider a career in construction. There are so many possibilities out there. And when I go and talk to different groups, whether it's, you know, first graders or adults that are in a workforce class or skills building class, I say essentially the same thing. If there is something you are particularly interested in, I guarantee you I can think of a way to connect it to construction because we build everything. We build everything from stadiums to hospitals to mixed use spaces to high rise apartment buildings to skyscrapers to bridges to roads. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. So if you're interested in healthcare, there's an opportunity for you to focus in on building hospitals or doctors' offices, or even this is kind of cool, but we have on many of our large projects, we have athletic trainers on site as staff who support our industrial athletes out there, our carpenters, laborers, individuals who are working on site, so that if they happen to wake up with, a pain in their shoulder or they have some challenges with their back, they go to this on-site athletic trainer and that person addresses their needs right then and there on site. They also help with um, blood pressure assessments and blood pressure cuffs on site. They help with a whole host of kind of first aid related um, things. But again, oftentimes when I say that, people are kind of shocked because they don't really
Hmm.
think of that type of
Right.
career opportunity. But there's a huge need for health related roles, not only within the job site environment, but also when it comes to building. If you're an expert in specific equipment, hospital related equipment. We have an entire department called Source Blue, which is really our logistics and manufacturing team that communicates directly with directly with manufacturers to identify and buy in bulk large scale equipment for many of our projects. And so you're able to apply a lot of knowledge and expertise if you've been in the workforce for a while and you're looking for a change. If you're new to the workforce, you're entry level, there's plenty of opportunities for you to contribute to building the community around you, literally. And if you want to learn more about how to do that, job shadowing is a great way to get some experience either in an office like setting in a construction company or on a job site, just to really see how all the pieces come together. It's so amazing to be able to imagine somebody draws a building out on paper in 2D, and then you're able to actually see that come to fruition built in the field, and ultimately drive by it every day and say, wow, I was on that project, I was able to contribute to a piece of our history, a piece of Cincinnati. So that's just my little plug when it comes to career seekers in general from the construction side. But regardless of the industry you're interested in going into, upskilling is a great way to build out, whether it's soft skills, whether it's a technical skill that you think you need to kind of shore up in order to be more marketable. There's plenty of resources and opportunities for you to build capacity within yourself as an individual to get the job that you're really looking for and to extend that beyond just a job, but a career. and connect with others in the industry. If you're interested in construction, there are so many people that are more than happy to talk to you about what they do as an industry, as I imagine is similar in other industries, right? We're a very prideful group. We're very team oriented in construction, and we want more people in our industry. We want to see um, all kinds of diversity represented in our industry. And that is starting to change, but we can definitely do better in terms of increasing the level of diversity that exists within our industry. So if you have an inkling of interest at all, I guarantee you I can connect you with somebody that might be a good person to talk to learn more about what they do, learn more about their day to day, what they like about their job, etc. So my contact information is included at the end of this um, conversation, but Amber has it as well. But yeah, don't hesitate to reach out and I can connect you to the right person if you have more questions. And the
Okay.
last, oh, did you want to say something?
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
The
I'll add.
last piece here is really just about who to connect with, who are some good folks to reach out to. And so, from a community engagement standpoint, if you're looking for ways to connect, if you're looking for ways to feel fulfilled, and you're looking for ways to um, engage with young people or individuals who are still looking for um, kind of what life has in store for them, definitely partner with organizations such as Cincinnati Public Schools, Cincinnati Library is a phenomenal organization, Cincinnati Youth Collaborative. I mean, Amber and I are in this world of human services. So there is a ton of organizations I could have listed here, but these are two in particular that will really allow you to connect specifically with young people um, and identify ways to have more of that sense of engagement with our next generation. When it comes to workforce, we Turner's had longstanding partnerships with both CityLink Center and Easter Seals, and we continue to expand our partnerships with workforce development agencies like St. Vincent de Paul. Um, Hamilton County Reentry Court has been a phenomenal partner of ours as well. But again, that focus really is on tapping into populations that may not have traditionally had access to careers in construction, letting them know that there are opportunities for them, and then really reflecting um, the fact that they can and will see themselves represented in this industry, and we want them to be a part of that. So those are some resources to connect to as well. If you are interested in careers in construction, City Link Center has a really good, a phenomenal cornerstone construction training program that Turner's been involved in standing up, and it's been in effect now for several years. But it's a great way to get some hands-on experience in construction if you're still curious, but not exactly sure if it's the industry for you. And that's more on the workforce side. And then, of course, from the management side, the project manager, construction engineer, superintending side, if you have any questions at all or are interested in a role, reach out to me and I'll make sure you get connected to our HR team so you can learn more about open positions. And then lastly, from an economic inclusion standpoint, we already talked about the City of Cincinnati Economic Inclusion Department. The port, if you are a business owner and you do anything in the construction industry, the port has some phenomenal opportunities for you. Jilson Daniels, who is their economic inclusion VP over there, he has been really instrumental in designing programming, various opportunities for smaller businesses to engage in port projects. And so they're a great resource to reach out to if you have any questions or you're interested in doing more work and kind of gaining some additional confidence and skills in your business.
And they have properties that are for sale. They also manage the county land bank. Um, so they have properties and projects throughout all of Hamilton County.
So I'll just leave you with some photos. These photos kind of represent each of the focus areas that we covered today, whether it's workforce development, economic inclusion, community engagement. The picture all the way on the left is an image of a Cornerstone Construction Training Program
Mhm.
cohort. Some participants who went through that cohort. They were taking a tour of the TQL Stadium project, and it was great to be able to provide opportunities for individuals to go through that program. And then we were able to see some of those same individuals once they graduated get hired on by contractors that worked on TQL Stadium. And then they had an opportunity to actually work on the project. So seeing that full circle
Circle.
um, opportunity was really awesome. And I'm looking forward to being able to create more opportunities like that through the Cornerstone Construction Training Program. City Link Center is a phenomenal organization. They have a lot of holistic supports housed within their building. And so they have an incredible way of serving the whole person, and also preventing individuals from having to go to a bunch of different buildings and a bunch of different resources and agencies in order to get, the services that they need. So and the photo all the way on the right is
That's
an
Woodward, isn't it?
example. What'd you say?
Is that Woodward High School?
No, that's actually the CRC in right across from Finley Market in OTR.
Okay. The one, okay.
So it's the Ziegler Park Summer Camp. Turner has been involved in their summer
Mhm.
camp for quite some time. And we do all kinds of hands-on youth engagement programming. And we connect from a youth perspective, we connect with kids from kindergarten all the way to 12th grade. And we do focus a lot of our attention on high school age, but it's always fun when we get to hang with the littles, because they've got a ton of energy. They've got just so much enthusiasm. And so what you're seeing in that photo is what we call our Turner Tetris Challenge. It's a fun game with squishy blocks. Here, I'll show you an example. So they're like these Legos that are kind of squishy, and they're multicolored, and you divide the group up into teams. And within those teams, each person on the team is assigned a different color, and they're only allowed to touch that color. So they have to build a structure while only being able to focus in on the colored blocks that they're allowed to touch. And that represents the delineation of trades on our projects. So it gives them, again, an opportunity to connect this activity that they're doing to construction, but they end up being able to build this structure at the end of it. And it's not as easy as it looks. We had grown adult engineers attempting to do this activity, and it did not always go well.
Well,
And some of the groups that we've done this with to get really into it and really creative. We also ran this with our youth program at the museum center at Union Terminal. They have a high school youth program, and we run a series there as well where we do a lot of hands-on activities like dome building and all kinds of activities that kids don't necessarily think they're using their math and science brains with, but we're kind of
they are.
tricking them into doing some math and science with these activities. So I like to highlight the fact that, economic inclusion also means exposing our young people to opportunities that they may not have had a chance to see themselves in before. And because of, again, the the disparities that exist within our country, um, there's still so much inequity in terms of access to opportunities that a lot of our young people have. And so being able to go into schools and say, hey, look, these are some folks that look like you, that are in this industry, that love it, that enjoy it, and here's some activities to show you that, hey, you can be a builder too. I mean, that to us, really encompasses that desire to be intentional about economic inclusion overall. So I'll end with the bottom line there.
Yes, that does sum it up.
That sums it up.
And one thing I can say about economic inclusion, just from your presentation and experience, is that it builds talent pools of workforce, present and future, talent pools of businesses, present and future, right?
Yep.
And um, and it increases access across the board, viable, real access, not just letting you in the room, but it's letting you be at that table, right? So I know, Ambrose, you had a question. You had your hand up probably about half an hour ago.
I'm so
But
sorry.
we no, but you were on a roll, so
I didn't see
that's
it.
why he
I
didn't interrupt you.
apologize. It was
No, no,
it
no, no,
probably
no.
should have been much more conversational,
Oh
but
no, you're fine.
I
You're
get
fine.
fired up.
Yeah. Well, not a problem. Thank you for sharing today. I just wanted to go back to the beginning. When you described yourself, you used you said connector, disruptor, and advocate, and you
Mhm.
talked about the connector. Just wanted to know, hear a little bit more about the disruptor aspect.
Oh yes. So as you can imagine, we oftentimes in our roles operate in a lot of this is how we've always done it. Or we do it that way, but then we don't often take a step back to think about, well, why are we doing it that way? So I can give you a couple of examples of times when I've been, a good disruptor, I'll say.
Good trouble.
Absolutely. That's what it's all about. So I mentioned our Turner School of Construction Management program, and we've been in Cincinnati. We had been implementing the program since the early 1990s, and for a long time, it had been operating in a very similar way. And what I found when I came to Turner was that while I think the programming um, was extremely high quality, the presenters really knew their stuff. I think we needed to do a much better job of being intentional about who we were accepting into the program and why they were in the program. And so really kind of taking a look and breaking down our processes, establishing an application process so we could hear from businesses like, why do you want to be in the program? We want to be able to support you, but in order to support you, we got to get to know who you are a little bit. So really kind of shifting our mindset instead of, the first 45 businesses that want to participate and sign up, come on by. Like we made it much more intentional so that hopefully we had more retention in the program. People didn't just drop out because they come to one session and they're like, ooh, that's not exactly what I was looking for. And b ultimately we want businesses that go through the program to actually end up in a position where they can do work with Turner or beyond. And so in order to see that happen, we had to make sure that the folks that were participating in the program were construction companies first and foremost, or could do business in a construction setting. They, had been in business for at least a year, and that they had a desire to invest the time and energy that it took to actually participate and be in the program. The program itself is quite an investment, because not only are you coming for 2 hours a week for 10 weeks, but then you're also broken up into teams. And as a team, you are creating and developing a mock bid on an active Turner project. And so you learn construction drawings, estimating, bid development, all for the purpose of creating this mock project and this deliverable that you have to submit at the end of the program. And so we just wanted to make sure, for me, it was very important that we took a huge look at a holistic look at the program itself and how can we make it better. Another example I'll share is when it comes to supplier diversity, um, we have a real opportunity to embed supplier diversity at every single phase of the project, starting with our pre-construction phase. And so what I've been able to do at within our business is come in and really take a holistic look at the entire continuum of a construction project from once the as soon as we start hearing inklings of a project to when the RFP is released to the pre-construction phase to we contract is awarded to construction to the scheduling, everything. And identifying ways to build in economic inclusion, diversity, equity, and inclusion, supplier diversity from the very beginning so that we're not caught flat-footed is an important shift. And I'm really, really excited about how involved our community and citizenship team is in the entire RFP process and in the entire project pursuit process. Because that had not always been the case,
Yeah,
but I think
that's a major
recognizing
shift.
that there has to be infusion of DE&I at every stage. I'll share one more example, and that is the fact that I had an opportunity to create an inclusion action team for our region that was the first model of addressing systemic racism within our company. So myself and my counterpart in Columbus, Vanessa Jester, she's phenomenal, and a few other folks in an employee resource group specifically for employees of color at Turner banded together after the murder of George Floyd in late May of 2020 and said, hey, we've got to do something. But we have to not only stop the bleeding, we have to create an overarching strategy that continues across all the the spaces of our business. So whether it's external engagement, whether it's internal practices and hiring practices and recruitment and retention efforts and promotion of our people, whether it's job site climate and addressing practices on our job site to make sure that folks not only feel physically safe or are physically safe, but feel psychologically safe as well. And whether it's in our efforts around making sure that we're cultivating diverse business engagement on an ongoing basis. It was important for us to create a holistic strategy and break that down into action items so that we could address them more fully and assign it to key leaders across our company. So we kind of, I'm going to toot my own horn a little bit, but we definitely set the standard in terms of how to operationalize a diversity, equity, and inclusion strategy. Instead of kind of thinking really high level, we broke it down really systematically so that we could see actual change happen. So yeah, just a couple examples of the disruptor, but thanks for the question.
When
Okay,
you
thank
don't
you.
do that, what happens is they'll say, this will be the statement that we are for DEI, but the practice, the people who are estimating for the bids, and that's who the subcontractors are submitting bids to, that's where you need that, right? And the way that she's doing it is actually putting accountability at each level. So it's adding teeth to it. It's not just a commercial to say, you know, out in public and then you still do business as usual. So that is a major, major shift. I'm glad to hear that. And even with looking at the whole process, you have your engineers, you have your architectural firms, you have your soil testing, all these pre-development people, and it's a lot of companies in that space, but they never would get an opportunity because the inclusion didn't start traditionally until after a bid was won. And they said, okay, now we have this bid, now we need some subcontractors to do the work. So she has flipped that upside down in the industry that that was a just that network that we've been doing this for the last 100 years. You're in third or fourth generation. A lot of construction companies are family businesses, and this is how we've been doing it, and they don't want to change. So it's glad to see that we have a disruptor doing good trouble internally, so that they're a good steward. And I know with that, I'm sure your profit margins, the quality of work hasn't gone down because of that. And that's a misnomer, right? A lot of people say, well, if I hire these minority people, then the quality goes down, or um, we can't make as much money, and all of those things. And that's not the case, but that is
No,
when
that's
I'm
not
in
the
that
case.
space, I hear that, from the outside, like, no, I
Hmm.
can't find anybody. That's gonna make my product go down. And like, no, it doesn't.
No,
So
not the
so
case at all.
yes.
Well,
So
I
are there any
wonder.
questions, comments? Go ahead, Eric.
Well, it just strikes me this is such a striking sort of case study, right, of
Hmm.
how to do DEI for real in the corporate environment. In an industry that's not known for this. Such a striking case study, and I just kind of wonder if there's like a fact sheet that should come with a link to the video, and that should go under our RSG,
Yeah.
landing
So
page.
so basically, I'll be following up with you. Eric has given me the assignment
Okay,
unofficially,
sure.
so we can make that into like a case study. So when we're doing business development, here is a way to do DEI, and this is a real case.
Okay,
Uh,
sure. I'm
it's just
happy
a
to work
thought.
with you on that.
Yes.
I definitely have pieces of that, so we can work together on kind of stitching it together so it's kind of complete.
Yes. And then we also have a workforce and business development center at Central State University that is it is launching March 20th. So I will make sure to connect you to
On
that.
Monday.
Yes. um
Ooh, I know y'all are busy.
yes. So that is Dr. Terry Muff, who's the director of that center. It's physically located in Dayton.
Okay.
But a lot of things that when you were talking about career pathing and things like that, I think that would be a good connection for you
Mm-hmm.
and Turner. And also, they have some specialties and training in areas that would be applicable to the construction industry
Oh,
and
great.
advanced manufacturing, because Central State even has an advanced manufacturing major. So,
Okay.
I'll make sure to connect you guys on that as well.
Do you happen to have engineering, any engineering majors as well? Okay.
We have the College of Engineering, Science, Technology, and Agriculture system.
Okay.
So I can
Fantastic.
connect you that way as well.
That would be awesome. I'd
Yes.
love.
It sounds like we should order some of those games and give it to the students
Uh,
to.
Yes, yes. Because
well, so we probably should trademark it because we just we just bought a bunch of multicolored squishy blocks and then created our own little like model that they had to follow. But yeah, it is a good time. I'm not gonna lie. It's a lot of fun. We have a special, like those service bells that you have at business, local businesses and stuff. So we have a service bell, we set it on a table, and then the team that finishes first, they have to ring the bell. But it's not an automatic win because not only is it important for you to finish on time or finish early, but you have to finish safely and you have to finish with quality. So we do go around and we inspect the structures afterward to make sure that, they're not going to fall apart. So, yeah, but we'll
awesome.
talk more about that. It'll be
Yes.
that would be a great connection and would love to plug into your ecosystem a little bit more. So, let's do it.
Awesome. And James, did you have any questions? Just double checking. Yeah, that means no, he didn't, because usually
Hi,
he has
James.
something.
Thanks for being on. Well,
So
thank you
Hey,
so much.
hey,
I
hey. So I'm
appreciate
sorry.
it.
okay, okay.
I'm here. Sorry. Multitasking this morning, so sorry, this afternoon. But no, I am I'm a family consumer science educator, so I don't there's probably opportunities there just to learn more about what, hear more, go back and listen again. But right now I don't have any questions. I try to jump on as many Thursdays as I can at 2 o'clock
To support.
and
Yes,
support. Absolutely.
yes.
So thank you for
Awesome.
being here, and thank you for smiling, right? Smiling,
Hmm.
because people that get on here and don't smile, it's like they're so serious. But we're here to have fun and enjoy and just think about ways that we can help each other. So thank you for all you do.
Absolutely. And for me, I I think it's so important, especially as a Black woman in America, to
Mhm.
maintain hope and joy. I feel like
Yes.
that's one of the most, you talk about being a disruptor, right?
Yes.
It's one of the most disruptive things I can do, because oftentimes everything else in this world can tend to force you to not do those things. So I'm here to be a light and hopefully inspire some folks along the way. And I love what I do personally. I get a lot of fulfillment out of it, but I hope it inspires and empowers others to do the same. So I appreciate you for saying that, James. And I'm also very close to vacation, so that makes I see the light at the end of the tunnel. It's been quite a week for me,
Yes.
and I have one more presentation in about 20 minutes, and then I'm like,
Dang, that's
smooth
what's up.
sailing.
Enjoy your vacation. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Yeah,
Well,
absolutely.
without further ado, I just want to thank you again for taking time because you are extremely busy to chat with us and join the conversation and I've shed some light on economic inclusion and its impact on growing your business, just life, workforce, all of it, right? And how it's intertwined. So, like CED, this is a major component of community and economic development work, and it's entwined with everything. So, just thank you, thank you, thank you. And this will conclude today's edition of CED Office Hour Live.